Hi, welcome. Welcome to yoga. I'm excited to have you here. Today's class is going to be just a little bit different. So I'm going to go ahead and give you kind of an overview of what you're going to need, and then you can stop this video and then jump back in once you have what you need. So always have a nice quiet space to practice in, particularly for this one. This is a class where you don't want to have a lot of interruptions. So making sure your phone is turned off, making sure your family members know that this is your time, and unless the house is on fire, to leave you be. You're also going to need a yoga block today. If you don't have a block, you can use a pillow. Just make sure that the pillow is roughly this size. It can be, a square shape, but make sure that it's somewhat hard and not too squishy of a pillow. We're going to use this quite a bit. Also, another tool that you're going to need is a chair. And I want you just to have the chair near your mat, at the top of your mat, we'll say. So go ahead and get yourself situated. You'll have your mat on the floor, a yoga block, and then a chair at the front of your mat. If you don't have access to a chair, like your dining room's far away and you don't feel like schlepping a chair all the way into the room that you practice in, a bookshelf would work. Anything that's maybe 18 inches to 2 feet above the ground is going to be nice. If you don't have that, it's not a big deal. It's just a nice tool. And I want to give you some tools to come into a really beautiful practice today. So a block or a pillow, a chair at the top of your mat, and I'll meet you there and you will be on your backs. So just have your body on the mat. We'll deal with the chair later. We'll deal with the block later. But just have them handy. I'm going to turn my camera off as I always do when I teach. And this is about you coming into your breath and into your practice. So as you begin to get yourself settled, take a moment just to acknowledge just how amazing you are for carving out this time for yourself. Having a consistent home practice is not easy. This is a beautiful thing that you're giving to yourself, as we've been talking about all month long. The idea of compassion, and even more, but compassion in action, is taking this idea of self-love to the next level. Actually doing something. And a yoga practice is a absolutely perfect example of self-care, self-compassion. So let your body kind of sink down into the floor. You might tuck your tailbone under and bend your knees so that your low back can really connect to the surface beneath you. I like to have my arms out to a T here, the palms up with my fingertips curled just slightly inward. And it's just a beautiful way to offer my heart. And the eyes are starting to close if they're not already closed. And I want to come into that circular breath where we find the space between the breath. And so as you inhale, imagine drawing half of a circle, tracing it up one side, and then pausing at the top when you're full of breath. And then exhale down the other side of the circle, just tracing it with your mind. And then when you get to the very bottom, there's no more breath. Just pause. And then you'll inhale again. And pause. And exhale. And then inhale. And exhale. Take a few more cycles just like that. You can stay with this style of breathing throughout the practice. It's a beautiful way to create space in the mind. Today's practice will be an offering to create space in the body. And if your knees are not already bent, go ahead and bend them. And then let the soles of your feet come to touch and just open your knees, like a little butterfly. Keep your arms spread wide. And as you might feel some sensation of tightness in the inner thighs and in the groin, see if you can direct your breath. If you're choosing to stick with the circular kumbhaka breathing, then you'll stay with that. But if that doesn't feel right with you today, see if you can direct your exhale into the tight parts of your body. So when I practice this way, I take a full breath in. And then with my mind, as I exhale, I send the breath to that area of the body that's tight or uncomfortable or feeling any sort of discomfort. And I fill up the body again. And I imagine directing my breath to that specific area in my body. So I'm really connecting here, mind and body. And as you do that, you'll notice after about 5, 6 breaths, there becomes a softness that occurs. There might even be a release or a making of space. Just take a few more breaths here. Go ahead and close your knees. Just reach over and grab that pillow or that block. Knees will stay up towards the ceiling. You begin to lift your hips up just enough to slide that block or pillow underneath your sacrum, that triangular bone at the base of your spine, the back side of your hips. If you're using a block, you'll make sure that it's horizontal on your mat. So not up and down lengthwise, but widthwise. So there's plenty of space for your sacrum, your hips, your glutes to rest on. The knees will stay up. Sometimes I like to bring my arms down and just cup my hands around the block or the pillow. But this is getting into the bridge pose with no effort whatsoever. So we get the benefit of this very quieting posture that reminds us to lead with the heart. And the yogis believe that we obviously have our physical heart that pumps blood, circulates, but then just near that physical heart, there is this beautiful source of infinite goodness. It is our heart space that is filled with compassion, love, and kindness. Sometimes we get so much in our head, we don't allow that light or that heart to truly shine. And so by lifting our heart, we send a message to the brain to be quiet. Let me lead with my heart here. Let me return to that place within me that is good and compassionate, filled with kindness and love. You'll take a few rounds of a breath. Feels best to you. It might be that circular kumbhaka breath. Where we take a space between the inhale and the exhale, a slight hold, a pause. It might be that you're sending your exhale to a specific body part that needs a little extra attention. It might be that you're breathing outside of yourself and sending your breath or your life force, your prana, to someone or something outside of yourself, which is dedication, intention. To come out of this posture very slowly and gently. Just lift up your hips enough to where you can push that block or pillow just out from under you, and go ahead and lay all the way back down onto the mat. And then draw your knees in and squeeze them really tight. And then roll over to the right side. And use your hand to press yourself up to a seat. You'll be facing the front of your mat. And then grab that chair and just bring it towards you. So the seat of the chair is closest to you. And then you'll straddle your legs around the chair, just open your legs to a V shape. You might have to adjust your glutes. So you're really sitting on the sitting bones here. And then grab your block. You may need it, you may not need it. Ideally, we will want our head to rest on the chair, on the seat of the chair. So you might have to make the chair a little bit higher by putting the block on top of the chair seat. It may be that you will be able to fold your forehead right onto the chair. But with our legs in a V shape, maybe the hands reaching back around and grabbing the back of the chair. Maybe the arms stacking like fire logs on top of the seat of the chair and the head resting on the arms. You might have the block on the chair and the arms maybe grabbing the legs of the chair. This practice is designed to be an inward look. So there's not a lot of big movements here. It's an introspect practice, a time to look within. It's the very yin of our very much yang lifestyle, especially this time of year when we have a lot of things to do, a lot of extra things. So get settled into this posture, making sure that your forehead is attached to something, a block, fists that are stacked, your arms that are stacked, or the seat of the chair. But putting pressure into the space between the brow, the forehead, will send a message to be quiet. And it will quiet down the thoughts and allow you to tap in to the innermost place of yourself. And again, we use the breath to keep us in the present. We use the breath to direct. our attention to any tightness. It may be your back, it may be shoulders, it may be your groin again, your inner thighs. And you might find after 3 or 4 or 5 breaths that you no longer need the block, or you no longer need your arms stacked upon each other, that you can completely melt over the seat of the chair. You might even turn. Eventually, after the mind has become quiet, you might even turn your head and on your cheekbone rests on the chair with the eyes closed. Just make sure you have enough time with your forehead connected to quiet. And if you have chosen to turn your head, just go ahead and turn to the other side. You see that when we completely let go, we bring a tremendous amount of balance to the mind, to the body, to the spirit. Our mind is constantly thinking and doing. Our body, sometimes much of the same. It can be really fatiguing, and we feel it in our spirit. It is so important to balance out those energies and to allow the body, especially this time of year, to truly rest and go inward, to reflect, quiet solitude. Go ahead and find your forehead back against some surface. Beautiful. Bring your block with you. Just scoot back onto your mat or push the chair in front of you a foot or so. Then come to having the block right on top of the soles of the feet that are touching. So we create that same butterfly shape, but with the block probably standing on its tall end. And then make sure that there's a lot of space between your heels and the base of your body. So the butterfly pose, the heels are pretty close to the base of the body. In this omega pose, there's a big diamond shape. If you look down, you'll see. And so maybe the heels need to go further forward. And the hands will hold the block or the pillow. You're going to aim your forehead for that block. And it might be that you need to stack your fists. Perhaps you need a pillow on top of your block. This isn't about perfection or doing it right or wrong. It's about getting still, comfortable in the uncomfortable. So make sure that your forehead has something to connect to. If you don't have anything tall enough, you can rest your elbows on that block and put your thumbs into your forehead, sort of resting your head in the weight of your hands. Eyes are definitely closed. The chin might even tuck in slightly. There's a roundness to your spine. This introspect posture of looking inward, looking deep into the places within yourself. And it is in this darkness that we find our light again. Sometimes it gets lost. And we know that within each of us is this beautiful divine spark of goodness. The yogis believe that within each of us is what they refer to as this lustrous gem. And through the trials of life, that gem becomes less illuminated. And our job on the mat is to wipe away the smudges, to illuminate that beautiful gem. Sometimes our practice of stillness, reflecting inward, is exactly that. Polishing off the smudges, letting go of the worries, the fears, the thoughts, the regrets, and simply returning to all that is good. And if the mind wanders, becomes busy again, you have your breath, that beautiful circular kumbhaka breathing. You have the breath to breathe in a mantra, to direct the breath to a place within you or a person outside of you. Learning to control these fluctuations of the mind is what we call concentration, yogi practice. And the breath is very linked to this concentration. Now keep your eyes closed. Keep your feet just as they are. Begin to slowly come on up and just set the block aside. Kind of recreate a tall spine. And bring your hands onto your knees or your shins. Draw your belly in. Let your shoulders round a whole bunch. Your chin's going to tuck towards your chest, maybe even towards that little dimple in your throat. And we get into a little deeper shape here with the round spine. You'll feel the crown of the head being drawn towards the floor, like gravity pulling it slowly. Very inward practice. Take just a few more breaths here. And begin to come on up. Straighten your legs. You're going to place the block or the pillow. If it's a block, it'll be vertical on your mat, about where your heart would be or your shoulder blades. So up higher than it was on our sacrum. And then as you get the block placed between your shoulder blades, go ahead and lay over it. This is called supported fish pose. It really arches the spine up, and you can almost even tuck your shoulder blades around the block or around the pillow. The chin will be up towards the ceiling, and the head will eventually rest on the mat. If it doesn't reach there, then maybe having that extra pillow is nice to put your head there. But we really want to have the heart risen right here. And so what's underneath the heart on the backside is elevating it. And the eyes stay closed and the throat is open. This beautiful posture of truth. This posture symbolically says, I will lead with my light. I will lead with my heart. And with the throat open, it is speaking truth, speaking light. We'll just be here for a few breaths. It doesn't take long for the benefits of this pose. And to come out of this pose, we tuck our chin and lift up our shoulders enough to where we can sort of slither off of the block or the pillow, get it out of the way. And we'll lay all the way on our back here. And we feel now this connection. Knees might draw in. And then straighten your legs out again long and just roll over, all the way over onto your belly. And so now your feet are at the top by the chair. That's okay. And then stack your hands so that your forehead is again connected to the palms. We're going to come into tree pose on our belly, prone tree. So we go ahead and bend our right knee and let the hip open. Place the foot somewhere on the left leg, just not on the knee joint. Even if we're not standing, we never want to put pressure on the knee joint. So you might be on the calf, the ankle area, not directly on the ankle, or up into the thigh. And it's here with our heart beating against the earth, we can feel the aliveness of who we are. Each breath, we can feel the diaphragm expand and contract. The remembrance of life, pranayama, practice of breath. So you might find that circular breath. You might direct the breath into the tight hips, maybe to the mind. We won't be here too long, maybe 3 or 4 breaths each side. Once you get settled, take just a few more breaths. And I like to switch my hands, placing the other hand on the bottom, then switch my legs. Get settled in, just observing, and then redirecting your attention to your breath. Beautiful. Go ahead and straighten both legs. And push yourself up and come into child's pose. Bring the hips all the way back to the heels. And if you need the floor to get a little bit higher, you can stack your fists or grab your pillow or your block if your head does not connect. You can also have your hips off of the heels if that's more comfortable, and in more of what we call a puppy pose with the head down and the bum up high. But again, the forehead is connected It's quieting. Introspect, intuition, inward journey. And breathe. And direct the breath into any tight areas in the body. Stay just for 4 or 5 more breaths. And go ahead and start to come out of child's pose, however you like to be. And you'll end up sitting on your bum, turning around towards the front of your mat. And here's where the chair comes in handy one last time. Now go ahead and bring your legs up onto the chair with bent knees. So the calves are resting on the seat of the chair, like a right angle, 90-degree bend. So you have to scoot maybe the bum towards the chair, bring the chair towards you, and then lay all the way down. These legs up gives a really supported and modified version of a shoulder stand, or legs up the wall, a very restorative yin posture of quiet, draining the fatigue from our legs. This is a beautiful posture to come to before bed. If you've had an especially busy day, either for your legs, your mind, or both, this is incredibly quieting. I like to have my arms spread out wide, the palms up again, fingers curled in gently. This is a time where we must balance. And what a year this has been. Month after month of uncertainty and worry and change. To let it all go. And to soak in the beauty of your breath and your body and stillness. And to look inward to see that beautiful light that you are. It is only in the darkness that we can truly appreciate the light, the illumination of our spirit. It is magnificent. And if you ever feel in this posture that it's not comfortable, simply come out of it and finish your practice in a posture that feels amazing. But this gift of yin, this gift of stillness, of quiet, of inward, an inward looking, the pause from busy, chaotic life. It is exactly what we need. And stay as long as you'd like in this beautiful, dark space of yourself, witnessing your light. Thank you so much for signing in. I'll see you soon.